Hi everyone, Graham Walker here, emergency physician, and I wanted to show you OpenAI's new chatbot feature. So I've implemented a hospital on-call finder chatbot, and I just wanted to explain a little bit about how these chatbots work. I think this is a pretty powerful new tool that's made it even easier to develop these chatbots for lots of features. Now, the chatbots can do a lot of things. They can follow your instructions, and you kind of program them just by talking to them, typing to them in English. They can read documents that you've provided to them, like PDFs or Excel files, and use that information inside them to answer questions. And then they can also access APIs and the internet. APIs are kind of online databases, and I'll show you. I think that's really the powerful piece there is the API piece. So let me just give you an example of an API. This is a zip code API where you enter the zip code here, in this case 66207, and it replies back with Shawnee Mission, Kansas, the city and state. That's where I grew up. The National Weather Service also offers an API. So again, anybody on the internet can access this totally for free. You just go to this web page in your browser and it returns the information you're looking for. So this is a dynamic weather database essentially. And I've entered in the code for Maui, Hawaii. And it's telling me that today, Maui, it's daytime and the temperature is 86 degrees and it's in Fahrenheit. And the dew point is 20 and the relative humidity is 66. There's a ton of information that these public APIs will give anybody on the internet access to. You could also imagine that you might have information you want to have accessible to computers and other people, but not to everybody. You might want a private API where either you need to enter a username or a password to access this. Maybe you restrict this so you can only see it if you're like on the hospital's Wi-Fi network. So imagine I've done that. I created a little sample API here. This is a list of who's on call for a couple specialties for the hospital. Now, if I add a couple of variables here, I can change what the information was sent back to me. So if I add just the date here, it'll show me everybody that's on call for the 12th of October. And if I add the specialty of cardiology here, I can just get back exactly who's on call for cardiology for that day. And you'll see it provides me with their name, their contact information, and if I can't get in touch with them, how I should try to reach them otherwise. So I've plugged that all into this chatbot here, and you can see I've asked this same question, who's on call for cardiology, and it actually went to that API, went to that web page, read that information, and then provided back to me the correct response, Dr. Williams, and I should contact her at this phone number here. Now, so let's just ask the chatbot a couple other questions. Hey, I can't reach Dr. Williams right now. She's not answering. So I'm asking for some kind of additional help. Hey, what should I do? Now, this system knows what to do if the user can't reach the person on their default phone number because I've told it that. I've gone through here and I've given specific information on what to do with a backup call preference. And if they can't be reached, look for the backup call preference, then find the correct phone number. And that's what the system is doing right now. It's taking a couple Excel files that I've given the system access to. And look, it found after a little error there, it found Dr. Williams' personal cell phone number, and this is her number that I should call since I couldn't get in touch with her through her work number. Now, just to confirm that's correct, I can go back in here, and this is the data that I've provided the system here. So Dr. Williams, I should reach out and give the personal cell phone number. And now here, this is the Excel file that I've given this chatbot access to. This obviously has even more secure information, people's home, personal phone numbers, and so I want to make that even harder to access. And additionally, these numbers probably don't change very often, so it's fine to have it in just an Excel spreadsheet as opposed to having it accessible like an API is. So again, Dr. Williams, notice it didn't give the home phone number, even though it had access to that. It correctly knew to give the cell number because that's the preference from the API up here. Let's ask a couple other questions just to see how this thing works. Let's say, hey, who's on for pediatrics? And if you may have noticed, I don't have pediatrics in the API. I only have neuro and gen surg and cardiology. So it knows that it can't find the answer for pediatrics. And so it knows, based on my programming here, hey, if I don't have the specialty, I should call the hospital operator. So you can see I'm kind of programming just by typing out what I want it to do in English. I'm not having to write code at all. I'm just saying, if this happens, if you can't find the right answer, tell the user to call the hospital operator. I'm going to do one more example here, which kind of requires a bunch of logic in it. Hey, who's on call for general surgery? I have a patient with appendicitis and I need to consult them. So again, it's going to follow the instructions here from this guide here. And I've given it a couple pieces of information. I've also included this treatment plans document here. So you can imagine some surgeons, some doctors like particular ways of managing a patient. And so it's going to figure out who's on call, figure out that they have appendicitis, as I've indicated here, in this separate document. And then hopefully it'll come up with this treatment plan here. So let me close my instructions here. And look, it was correct. It figured out that Dr. Smith was on call. It provided their work number. And the plan by Dr. Smith for API is give Zosyn, keep him NPO, and page the surgery resident. Now you can imagine I could take this one step further if I wanted. If I had a way of taking this response from this data that I've pulled, and if I had a way to automatically send that to, say, the surgery resident or to Dr. Smith, I could also automate that. I could ask the chatbot, hey, I need to consult about appendicitis, and then with my instructions, I could tell it, automatically send Dr. Smith a message that, Dr. Walker in the ER needs to contact them about appendicitis case, whatever. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavor for how these chatbots can be used. Now, obviously, anybody can make a weather chatbot because that data is all publicly available. I think really the powerful piece of this is when you're pulling in private data or private APIs where you can pull in information that you don't want everybody on the internet to be able to access, but that you can allow the chatbot to have some access to and then provide the user with the appropriate amount of information. Now, of course, just as a final warning, you would never want to do this with patient information for a multitude of privacy and HIPAA reasons. And that's why I did this example with the call schedule. It's still private information, but it's not PHI. Thanks.